Hello aspirants, welcome to MCM Initiative, which is Mains Current Affairs Marathon. This is our first session wherein we'll be discussing society and social justice altogether. The topics which are being discussed are the most important current affairs topics of last 1 year. These topics can be possible questions in the upcoming mains, or you can use them as your content in your answer writing in a smart way. So the topics for today's discussion are persons with disabilities, tribal groups, AI and social impact, mental health, urbanization in India, gender budgeting, social media and disinformation, caste census, multidimensional poverty index, nutrition security. So let's get started. Over to Vikas sir.
Thank you, Chaitanya ma'am. So the first topic that we are seeing is persons with disability. Now, persons with disability is an important topic for this year because of two main reasons. One, we see that this is the 10th year of passing of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, and also this is the year where the government has decided to expand the Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan or the Accessible India campaign. So in both of these contexts, this topic, Persons with Disability Act and Persons with Disability, becomes important, which will be more or less a possible question from the social justice point, that is GS paper 2. So now in this context, when we are preparing, we need to be preparing more comprehensively, wherein first try to have the definition and also related facts with respect to them. So one, you can start your answers with the definition, and if you are starting with the definition, preferably try to have a standard definition. Either take the definition of UN Convention of Persons with Disabilities or take the definition of Persons with Disability Act itself. Either of the definition will work. Second, also have brief data on them. So roughly we have the 2011 census, which says in India 2.2% of the people are persons with disabilities. Either of it can be your introduction. Second, try to prepare briefly on the problems faced by them. So you can talk about different problems they face, such as the discrimination, exclusion, financial access, lack of education, employment opportunities. All of these will be important parts in your problems part. And also try to back your points with the help of relevant data and examples wherever it is required. And then in terms of constitutional provisions, now you see that although there are no direct constitutional provisions explicitly talking about persons with disabilities, you can connect some of the important provisions, like for example Article 19 or Article 21, which talks about freedom of speech or right to live with dignity. These things become very important for somebody especially with disabilities. So that is something you can have here as a part of your content. And third, talking about some of the government initiatives. Now we see that there have been multiple initiatives taken by government, like that of Accessible India campaign, Accessible Elections by Election Commission, Persons with Disabilities Act 2016 and other things. So among these things, the Persons with Disabilities Act itself becomes a very important topic on which there can be a standalone question. Now if you see the previous year questions, there has been already two questions, once in 2016 and one more around 2021. So there can be again a possible question, so wherein you need to know first the provisions of the act, which talks about the reservation, which talks about expanding the education provisions, which provides for definition, preventing discrimination against them, all of these things. So try to know at least 6 to 7 major provisions of that, and also know about the implementation part of it, the effectiveness of it. To what extent have these programs been successful? To what extent have the provisions been successful in terms of their implementation, and what are the loopholes there in terms of the implementation gap and lack of funding, budgetary deficits? All of this becomes the concerns with respect to the act. So that itself can be a separate question. And overall also, we can think of what else can be done with respect to persons with disabilities. So therein you can be talking about the need for increasing the accessibility, the need for integrating digital tools wherever it is possible, and also ensuring there is better implementation of the programs, providing for additional financial aids, these kind of things. So these are some of the things you have to be having with respect to Persons with Disabilities Act. And in terms of conclusion, try to have some catchphrases here. So one, you can talk about shifting from the needs based approach towards the right based approach. So that keywords, right based approach, can be your concluding lines.
Over to Suresh sir.
Thank you, Chaitanya ma'am. The next important topic is mental health in India. It was in news because in last year there was a landmark judgment. The case is Sukhdev versus State of Andhra Pradesh, where the Supreme Court recognized that mental health is an essential component of right to life under Article 21. And also every year on October 10th, we used to celebrate International Mental Health Day. The last year theme was access to service, mental health in catastrophes and emergencies. So that's why these topics becomes very, very important. So first and foremost, we have to look about the definition of mental health. According to WHO, where it states that mental health is a state of health, well-being that enables the peoples to cope up with the stress of life and realize their abilities and learn well and work well, where ultimately it contributes to their community. So if you look at the important statistics of mental health in India, first and foremost, according to National Mental Health Survey, so where it states that 10% of the adults in India suffer from mental disorder, and overall 13% of the population affected by mental health disorders over their lifetime. So and even if you compare with the urban and rural, so urban people are more suffering with mental illness than rural people. So these are the important facts. Also, you can use constitutional provisions like Article 21, since the judgment was there regarding right to health under Article 21. So also Article 38, even 47 you can use. So if you look at the important key drivers of rising mental health challenge in India, first one is urban stress due to rapid urbanization and overcrowding increases the anxiety and depression. For example, urban prevalence, since I mentioned 13% of the urban people are suffering from mental illness or depression. The next one is financial pressure due to job insecurity or even for the high standard of living that makes people very distressed and think about their life. So that is also even contributing for mental illness. Suppose, for example, 5% of the adult population affected by mental disorders. The next one is professional competition due to intense educational targets and even for the workplace targets also, that elevates risk of depression, anxiety and suicidal tendencies among the adult people. The next one is digital overload. Since we are living in a digital era, so we used to consume unwanted contents from the various social medias like Twitter, Instagram, even YouTube also. That is how somehow creating the identity crisis, even making them feel bad about themselves also. For example, 1 billion of the people affected globally by anxiety and depression. So due to overall digital overload and all. So next one is stigma and awareness gap. So nearly 70 to 92 of the percent people, individuals are not even seeking mental illness treatment. So these are all the key drivers. So next one, if you look at the important challenges in addressing mental well-being in India. So first one is treatment gap. Since I mentioned, according to the National Mental Health Survey, where it states that most of the people are not even seeking any kind of treatment. So next one is shortage of professionals. India has only 0.75% of psychiatrists per 1 lakh population. That is a far below of WHO recommendation, where it states that 3 per 1 lakh population, limiting the timely diagnosis and even for the treatment. The next one is stigma. We already discussed it. So there is so many insurance gaps also. Like people are not even aware of OPD and cashless mental services that are provided by insurance policies also. So next one is urban centric access. Most of the whatever we are discussing mental illness and that is supported treatments are only available in urban areas. Like the clinics were there, even therapists were there, specialists were there. We cannot see exact such facilities in rural areas. So for addressing all these issues, Government of India made so many efforts, policies and even acts also. So first one is Mental Health Care Act 2017, where it ensures that legal status for mental health and even for physical health. The next one is Mental Health Program. They announced it in 1982 also. And next one is recently there was a famous initiative called Telemanas. It is a 24/7 facility available. If anybody is suffering from any kind of mental health issues, they can easily seek any kind of their counseling, even treatment also. So next one is National Suicide Prevention Strategy of 2022, where it aims to reduce the suicide rates through public awareness, destigmatization and early detection. So next one is Mental Health Program 2024. That means in that program, 25 centers of excellence were sanctioned to train postgraduate student in mental health and provide advanced treatment. So the last one is Ayushman Bharat. Under this initiative also, 1.7 lakh Ayushman Arogya Mandirs to provide basic counseling and even psychiatric medication and even physician training also. So these are the important initiatives by the Government of India. There are so many way forward also. You can use this topic in your any papers like even essay also, ethics also, even GS2 also. Either if you get direct question on mental health, it's fine, or else you can use these facts or examples in your answers. So far we have discussed about overall mental health issues. So next point is we are going to talk about overall way forward to address this issue. First and foremost, we have to create awareness among the people to seek if they are suffering with any mental illness and all, they have to seek treatment. Next one is integrate mental health into primary health care. Other one, next one is increase the availability of counselors and psychiatrists. Since I mentioned there is a infrastructure gap, the human resource gap. So next one is expand the telemedicine service, health services, and also address workplace mental health issues. Remember, India's mental health crisis cannot be solved through medicines alone. It requires confronting social injustice, trauma, and structural deprivation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Suresh sir. Over to Manoj sir.
Thank you, Jitama. The next topic is gender budgeting. So this year, Union Budget had allocated close to 5 lakh crores for women-centric schemes as a part of gender budgeting. That constitutes almost 10% of the entire budgeting. And this year, there has been close to 11.5% increase in terms of allocation compared to last year. So now let's talk about gender budgeting in detail. Gender budgeting could be defined in a simple way by saying that evaluation of public expenditure from gender lens to ensure better outcomes. And gender budgeting was started in India for the first time in 2005-6 Union Budget. So let's look into the constitutional provisions related to women and gender in general. So Article 14 talks about right to equality, and Article 15 Clause 3 talks about special provisions which is given to women and children. Article 16 talks about employment opportunities. Article 39 Clause D talks about equal pay for equal work. Let's look into various government initiatives which are a part of gender budgeting. The first is gender budgeting statement. It is presented alongside of annual financial statement every year along with the budget. And the second scheme is Mission Shakti, which is a flagship scheme, which is an umbrella scheme which includes both safety and security on one side and empowerment on the other side. Safety and security are categorized under the sub-component called as Sambal, and the other one is under Samarthya. The third initiative is a National Rural Livelihood Mission. Under it, the sub-components are Lakpati Didi and Namo Drone Didi. And the fourth initiative is Sukanya Samruddhi Yojana, which is a part of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. This is a small savings schemes for children. And fifth is Stand Up India. And sixth is PM Mudra Yojana, where close to 75% of the loans are being allotted to women. And let's talk about certain challenges faced by women and women particular schemes as part of gender budgeting. The first one is limited outcome evaluation. Here, for an example, Nirbhaya Fund. In this fund, close to 75% of the fund has not been utilized. It has been lying idle. And the second challenge is low awareness at a local level, especially vulnerable sections as well as among rural women. And fourth is persistent patriarchal norms. According to National Family Health Survey 5, which says that close to 23% of marriages are still child marriages. And fourth is unequal asset ownership. Only 10% of rural women own land in their names. Fifth one is gender wage gap. So according to Global Gender Gap Report, India stands at 131 out of 148 countries in the world. We have to shift from expenditure-based budgeting to outcome-based budgeting. And along with that, we have to strengthen gender auditings and increase women participation in political sphere. For an example, 106th Constitutional Amendment Act, that is Nari Shakti Vandana Adhiniyam, is a good way forward. Mainstreaming of gender concerns across ministries has to be done. And talking about various keywords where we can utilize these keywords in our answers. So they are double burden, so pink collar jobs, glass ceiling and mud ceiling effect, and then care economy. To conclude, we can utilize Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 5, and along with that, we can also talk about the G20's theme of women-led development.
Well, thank you, Manoj sir. Over to Rajesh sir.
Thank you, Chaitanya ma'am. Next topic is caste census. So as caste is one of the important foundational aspects with respect to Indian society, so this topic is very important. And also, as this is one of the significant government policy decision, so with respect to paper 2 also, this topic is very important. And also, this is the first time the government of India conducting caste census along with the population census. And also, various state governments such as Karnataka, even Bihar and also Telangana, so done caste survey. So this all together makes this topic could be very important, and also they are going to integrate the paper 1 concept with paper 2. So prepare in such a manner that, so try to know the holistically about this particular issue. So try to know, so what is the need of caste survey or caste census, and what are the challenges, implementation challenges with respect to caste census, and what could be the way forward or suggestions, and also try to know what are the important constitutional values associated with it, and also whatever the various commissions suggested with respect to caste census. So in this framework, if you prepare this particular topic, so definitely you can ace any kind of question, whether they are asking with only paper 1 or if they are going to interlink both paper 1 and paper 2. So with respect to the background of the caste census, so pre-independence there was only one caste census happened, so that is in 1931. But in post-independence, so definitely we are having census. Along with that, so we are registering only SC/ST population. But in 2011, actually they have come up with socio-economic caste census, but that data is not available for public. So this is with respect to the background of the caste census. So you could use this information in your introduction, or you can also define so what is caste census itself. So try to prepare at least 3 to 4 introduction for this particular topic. So next thing is, so what is the need of caste census, especially in India? So this could be a probable question, or what are the opportunities associated with caste census? This could be also be probable question. Let us look at the need of caste census. So if you have the proper data with respect to various castes, so definitely it would be helpful in better targeting of welfare schemes, and also it helps to inclusive development also. So and also we can rationalize reservation with respect to various subcategorization of caste. So this is all about the need of caste census. So even you can try to come up with other 3 to 4 points. So then with respect to challenges, so we have various challenges to conduct this caste census. The first and foremost is data accuracy, because in India, so we have come across thousands of castes. To enumerate thousands of castes, it is very difficult for the government, and also it may lead to political polarization, such as it might strengthen identity politics, and also there could be a more demand for further reservation for particular caste. So reservation pressure could happen. So these are the implementation challenges. With respect to challenges, also come up with various points. Then what could be the suggestions or way forward to address these kind of challenges? So first and foremost thing is to come up with the way forward. So definitely, so there should be a proper coordination between center and the state to make this caste census successful, and also to bring transparency, especially during the caste census. So then we can ensure independent auditing and public trust. So that could also ensure transparency in caste census. So further, we have to combine caste census with various social indicators such as health, education, and all, so that we could able to achieve the overall development of the various caste. So this could be a way forward. With respect to caste census, so try to know important commissions and data associated with it. The first and foremost is Mandal Commission, which actually established in 1980, which estimated OBC population was around 52%. So then try to know about the recent Bihar caste survey, so in which it has reported, so the OBC constituting over 63% of state population. So with respect to conclusion, so try to bring the holistic keywords such as social justice or the empowerment of disadvantaged sections and all. So try to conclude in these lines.